Welcome to Tree Doctors, everybody. We're starting the program at Hornersville, Missouri. In just a moment, we're going to catch up with the head tree doctor of Dickey Tree Service, Ed Dickey, and he's going to give us some tips on how to take care of our trees. But before that, let's let Ed tell us a little bit about what he does to take care of our trees. It all starts right now on Tree Doctors.
You know, great strides have been made in the chemical community as the technology come available now where you don't need to clumber some capsules to tree, and we can put actually 9 or 10 different products at one time in a tree. You can see it boiling out from around the base of that as I'm injecting this into the soil ball. Amino acids, different miticides, insecticides. We can choose what we want to treat for, and we get a long residual from this. So you get a year's worth of good or longer out of our injection when we do a tree. An actual moat of chemicals put around your tree, and it's all moisture activated. So as the weather hits it or the rain, it supercharges it again and carries through the tree. So to get rid of your unwanted insects or to revive a tree to put new life in it, you know, that's what we do. We put the zap back in the sap. We give new life to old trees. That's what we do. We're the Tree Doctors. Dickey Tree Service in your yellow pages under trees.
It's time to go out in the field and catch up with Ed Dickey, the head tree doctor of Dickey Tree Service, right now on Tree Doctors.
You know, there are a lot of big trees scattered around the country. This old oak tree has stood for in excess of over 100 years before they come in and did some construction by it and damaged it right there. And that let the old boars get in. That was a couple years ago. And it's starting to pull the tree down. So keep an eye on your tree when you do the construction. When you got them damage areas like that, if they're not attended to, it's not too long down the pike that you're going to have to be dealing with the problems that they cause. First place, try to keep them from happening. Most people build some type of little barrier around their trees before they do construction to keep the contractors from backing up and hitting them and driving close to the roots with compaction and just damage them in general. So the more you can do to keep that from happening, the more money you save. That's a good tip for you. We're out here north of Jonesboro, and here with me is Adrian Threadgill, and at a cabin he's got here by the lake. And how long have you had this, and what's going on with your pecan tree, Mr. Threadgill?
Well, I've had this place about 10 years, and what was it, was it 2000? We had the big ice storm, 2001. And at that time it broke off a big limb at the top, and I've noticed since then that little activity around here, and I was concerned about the tree splitting and losing the tree, so I was asking your opinion as to what to do to it. And
what I told Adrian, he had asked could he use a chain. We were working on another tree at his property here that lightning had hit, so I come down here to look at it, and in some cases you could actually put a log chain around up here to keep from this separating. But in his case, it wouldn't be cosmetically correct, because in the future it's going to cut into the main part of the tree and weaken that. He's let it go on too long for that, because the tree is already weeping here and the boars are starting to work on it a little bit. And I suggested put a 1-inch bracing rod through there and fix it permanently. And he's going to have me do that. But a lot of our viewers, you know, asked that question you did, Mr. Threadgill, about, you know, looping the chain, and that's a quick fix for a little while if they don't, you know, leave it there for a long time.
mm-hmm.
But this is a key location for this tree too. Years ago, for this to be corrected, they could have cut this one side off of it and left a non-competition dominant stem there that they could nurtured and trimmed, but it's too late now for any of that. If you cut that off now, this will make this other side weight heavy. So about the only thing we can do is put a rod in it.
Yeah. Well, if that's what we need to do, I'd rather do that. And because I sure want to save the tree, and I don't want it on top of my cabin. So, and if we have another big ice storm, with its weakened state, might lose it.
That's right. We'll stop that from happening. And I appreciate you talking about your pecan with us.
All right. You're welcome.
I'm here at Guy's Buffet in Paragould, and right hanging over the main restaurant part is this big old gigantic oak tree. And Guy had me treat this tree. Been a couple years ago, and I treated some out at his farm too. But when this tree was really spread out here a few years ago over this restaurant, and he had it trimmed. He had it trimmed back pretty severely, and it really bothered me. I thought it was going to kill the tree, and I was glad to see him have me treat it after it because I feel it helped bring it back. But he had a good guy to trim it, Carl Henderson from here in Paragould, and he just recently passed away. So it's one of the projects he did, but he did excellent work. And I was proud that Guy had me treat it after it got trimmed, because the tree is in a restricted situation and it really needs that extra help from the treatment. And when it got trimmed, it had to be done that way because it was just getting spread out, and then the restaurant was really kind of in danger. So if you take the right steps, we can coexist with these big old trees, is what I'm getting at. And just take that little bit of extra time and think about it, and generally there's a cure for what ails you. I'm still out here in the Finch community, and had a call from this lady, Kimberly Tucker, and she's got an unusual problem with a pear tree. Kind of tell our viewers what's going on with this pear tree, Kimberly.
Well, we moved in here about a year ago, and this pear tree is the biggest producing pear tree I've ever seen, tallest one I've ever seen in my life. And I thought you might be able to tell me more about it, or you might be interested in it, so I called you. And it's got a lot of pears. I can't get them out of there.
It sure does. It's got a lot of pears on it, and the question Kimberly asked me was how to get them down from the top without tearing the tree up, and she's really got a problem here because it is really loaded down, and it's kind of a hazard getting in under this tree, isn't it, Kimberly?
You about need a hard hat, or you get impaled by a pear trying to pick them.
Yes, ma'am. And she had called some tree service company about using a bucket truck or something. Of course, that wouldn't be cost effective to have that done, so she's really kind of up against it on how to harvest pears on a tree this big. So that maybe one of our viewers out there can enlighten her on how they can help her harvest them or something, and for a portion of the pears or whatever. You're open to suggestions, aren't you, Kimberly?
Yes, sir. It seems like every neighbor here has known this pear tree for 40, 50 years, and they'd be real sad if they didn't get some pears off of it. So I've been trying to distribute them, but the very best pears are in the very top of the tree. And they're hardest to get at.
Seems like that's the way it is, and I'll have to testify these are real good pears. I had to sample one, and she's right out here on tree 58. It's the highway in the Finch community. And Kimberly, I want to thank you for calling me first, telling me about this unusual pear tree. And I don't think I've seen any up and down Crawler's Ridge here this big, or in my years it's produced this heavy.
Well, I'm real proud to have it, and smell great, it tastes great, and I wish I could get some way to get them out of the tree without getting hurt.
Yes, ma'am. Even our dogs eat the pears, and the deers come up here eating the pears, so everybody around here likes these pears. So yeah, they just come up here and get them, so there's a lot of pears. So it's Kimberly Tucker in the Finch community. Just give her a call if you know a way to get rid of these pears, to help her get rid of them. And I think she'd like to talk to you. Is that right?
Yes, sir. They make great jelly from what I understand, too, but I don't can. So if somebody makes jelly, would probably really enjoy them.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you, Kimberly, for calling me, and thanks for talking about your tree.
Thank you, Ed. I appreciate you coming out.
We're in Pocahontas at home of Miss Doc here, and her father had put concrete in this tree several years ago. It's a maple tree. And he done it correctly. He got it back in there, like I've said before on camera, behind the cambium layer, so it closes on over. Eventually, you won't even know the concrete's in there. So it's easy to see that you can take a little bit of time and do it right when you want to. And so his tree doctrine paid off. It's a good job. I'm here in Paragould, and here with me is Don Johnson. And Don, down there at your house, you got some tulip poplar trees. Why don't you tell our viewers what is going on with them tulip poplars when you call me?
Well, they were dying. I didn't know what was the problem, but they were dying. Called you, you treated them, and they're doing better, doing good.
Yes, sir. What Don had he had tulip poplar scale, and they were transpiring, just dripping all over the place, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
But we took care of that. What business you in here in Paragould?
I'm in Don Johnson Auto Sales, sell used cars.
Yes, sir. We're right here on Kings Highway. And how long you been in auto sales?
45 years.
45 years. So if somebody's looking to get you mainly sell used automobiles, don't you?
I do, late model.
Well, somebody looking to somebody was experienced and knows how to sell them a good car that knows good, they need to come see you, don't they?
They do for a fact.
Yes, sir. It's been, well, almost 2 years since we started working on them trees, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
Yes, sir. And like I tell everybody else when we treat their trees, if they don't act to suit you after we treat them, you call me. But I think you're real happy with what we did.
I am happy with them. They turned out real good.
Well, Mr. Johnson, I thank you for taking a minute talking about your trees, and I hope some people will come out here and see your big selection of used cars.
All right, I thank you very much.
Yes, sir. I've got a pair of oak trees here, and from just looking at them, quickly looking at them, don't look like there's a problem, but you close examination, you can see the trees coming apart. Fungus already set in on this side, and this has been going on a while because this new cambium is starting to form here. You can see where the borers have cut. There are cuttings right there that fell down there. So don't let that happen to your tree, Walk out and look at them every once in a while, and don't let them get this far. And you can see how far it goes. And if I was guessing, this tree got a zap by lightning here a few years ago. Homeowners probably didn't even notice it. And whatever the reason, it's definitely got more problems now. I'm here in Hornersville with Donna Whitmer. And Donna, you called us in back in the winter, and you're over the Hornersville Housing Authority, I think, aren't you here? Mm-hmm. And won't you tell the viewers what was going on with your trees then?
Some of the older trees over here in this first development had boreworms in them, and we were afraid they were going to get damaged and we'd lose the trees. And then we just wanted all the younger trees we had planted treated also.
Yes, ma'am. And what Donna had me do, we treated everything on there. Do you have 2 or 3 different segments?
We have two different developments.
I was thinking I did another one, the boys did. And she's got some old trees here, these beautiful oak trees. It's you don't have any idea the age of these, do you?
I haven't. This was built in '67, and it was built around the trees.
Well, so they were here for a while then. Yeah. And there's some real nice old trees, and we're going to move around here and talk about 1 or 2 of them, if you will.
Okay.
Donna, we moved around here to, this is some Chinese elm trees that is growing by the street here by the complexes. Have you noticed a big difference, or have you noticed the residents here that mentioned to you a big difference about the trees since we treated them?
Yeah, they all seem to think they look a lot better.
I know you have a groundsman here that helps you, and he seems to think they look a lot better too, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
I know on the younger trees, and we'll move around to those here shortly, they really have took hold and took off in the last months or so.
Yes, they have.
When we treated these, it was dormant. It was in the wintertime. And like I've said many times on the program, that allows the systemics to go into the root system. So when the trees do come out in the spring, that they come out with a vengeance and they do well. And that's what happened here, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. And I forget how many, but I think there are a little over 100 trees on your...
I believe that's somewhere right around 100.
Yes, ma'am. Well, we're going to move around to some of these smaller trees, and we'll talk about that.
Okay.
Donna and I was just talking about the head maintenance man here at the Hornersville Housing Authority, and Jimmy Lee just joined us. And what's your feedback? Give me a little feedback on what you've seen on these trees, because you was actually here when they were treated, wasn't you, Jimmy?
I was here. Well, it looks to me like they're greener than they are normally, and those that you sprayed the other day, the leaves have come back on them.
Right there, what Jimmy's referring to is some pine trees, and we had a pine tip moth attack these pine trees. But overall, I was asking Donna, it seemed like there are better than 100 trees here, aren't you, Jimmy?
Yeah, quite a bit, a few more than that.
Yes, sir. And some of them, do you know I was asking Donna about it, she said these was here and the project was built around them. Do you know the age of some of these?
I wouldn't know, that was before my time.
Well, that tells me a little bit right there. They're at least over 40, aren't
That's
they?
right, they are. They say they grow a half inch or so a year.
In the right conditions, that's right. If they've got, well, some that we treat actually grow a little bigger and stronger than that because they got everything they need. But if provided it gets the right amount of nutrient, they can grow a half inch to 3/4 a year.
That one's over 3 foot in diameter.
Right. Well, if I was guessing, I'd say that tree's between 60 and 75 years old.
I would say probably.
So at 3 foot and half an inch a year, that'd be 72. So you're not gonna miss it too much. That's a good rule of thumb, Jimmy. Had never thought of that. Especially on their oaks in this part of the country.
Well, they're slow growing.
Yeah, some of them are. They really are. And some of them grow faster than people think. Well, we'll move around here, and I want to talk about some younger trees that you're involved with, you and Donna.
Okay.
Donna was standing here with some of these young tree that y'all had put in. How many of the young ones have y'all put in?
We put in about 30 in the past year.
Okay, and Jimmy, y'all had me treat these also. Could you know how these young ones respond? Could you notice they took hold pretty good?
They took hold good.
It really makes a difference when they had me do this, like I said, in the winter. As when they come out in the spring, they really come out bouquet, because I come through here in May, and they really look good, didn't
They did look good, yes.
they? And Donna, some of the bigger trees that you noticed a borer problem, you hadn't had any more, noticed any more problems or anything out of them, have you?
No, I haven't. They look really good. I think took care of that problem.
I remember when they had called me to treat these, y'all had weighed the fact of using a chemical y'all could have done yourself, and the time you added it all up, it was cheaper to get me. Was that right?
Right.
I'm not bragging on that. I'm just saying that there is some stuff that people can get and pour around some of these young trees, but we use so many different compounds when we put it down that even to come close to what we do, it would be quite expensive, and we were actually cheaper than using just one product. Is that right?
That's right.
Jimmy, kind of point out what you was telling me before.
Well, you can see this one that was treated. There's 3 back here that was not treated. And then you can look that way, and you can see those that are treated. You can tell a difference.
Yeah, I've said that for years to our viewers, that you can actually...
Look behind you there. Those weren't.
Right, you can actually drive down the street and pick out trees that's been treated and took care of, and here it's just visible to the eye on every one of them, isn't it?
That's right.
Well, are you proud you had us do it, Donna?
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm proud to do it for you, and I'm just tickled this. Y'all took a minute to talk to our viewers to tell about this.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We're out here just off of Highway 91 between Raven Springs and Pocahontas, and here with me is Roy Meeks, and we're at his home place here. And Roy, why don't you kind of tell our viewers what is going on when you called me in here a few months ago?
Well, it looked like that tree right over my right shoulder, about 100 feet away, was dying. In fact, it had already died on me. It turned brown. And I called you up here to see what could be done before whatever was wrong with it spread to the other trees.
Yes, sir. And what I'd found is he'd had a bad borer problem here in the front, and he had me treat these trees in the front. And there's a little bit more story to that I'll get to in a minute. But also he's got this sycamore we're standing by. It'd been a few years ago someone had cabled that for you, hadn't they, Roy?
Right. They'd wrapped a cable around the 4 prongs of the tree trying to save it.
Right. And
one of them came undone.
Right, he had one of those loose, and I fixed it for him, and the tree had grown to the point that I recommended we put some bracing rods in between that and the ground, because he got a lot of hanging weight over his carport, and he let me go ahead and do that, and that tree's going to be there for a long time with the cables and the bracing rods holding it. Back to your oak trees, Mr. Meeks, you had these trees in the front and some of them in back treated not too long ago, is that right?
It's about a year ago, maybe a little longer.
Right, another firm had come in here and kind of sold him a bill of goods. When I came, he had lost one tree, and he had borers, just piles of sawdust at the base of the others.
Right.
But we've got that corrected now, and that shows you that most of these places won't give a guarantee, and that's why the guarantee is so important for the property owners. And I think you agree with that too, don't you, Mr. Meeks?
Absolutely now. Absolutely.
Yes,
I
sir.
thought I was getting a good job, but I mean, I ended up losing one of the trees.
And it had to be a key one. That was of the
Key one, that's
yeah,
right.
that's generally the way it happens. Well, we're going to move around here, and we're going to show some more of this nice yard and your house, and we're going to talk about some other trees.
All right, sounds good.
We're here where Mr. Meeks has got two trees coexisting with each other, and that's the way there was when you moved here, wasn't it, Mr. Meeks?
That's right. All of these trees are just as we found them 20 years ago, I guess. And I thought we were going to the elm tree, but that's actually an ash that you did some work on to keep it splitting and falling down.
Right. I had treated the tree, it and the oak both, and Mr. Meeks had me put a rod through it because you can see that weak crotch there. If you lost that one half, that'd just ruin that tree.
Yeah.
So we stopped that from happening. And he's just got a wonderful big yard and got a pond out towards the back. Roy, we're back here in your backyard, and you can see the pretty lake in between behind us here. Mr. Meeks, you got some playground equipment here. You have some young ones here that you.
Yeah, we have two little girls. I was blessed later on in life. We have Rachel, she's 8, and Becca, we adopted Becca from China about 3 years ago. She's 5. And they got plenty enough room to run around here and enjoy themselves.
Yes, sir, they sure do. They sure do. Well, that is great. And I'd like the viewers to see how what a pretty yard you got, because it definitely is. And like you say, all the key trees are still remaining that you left, and the home is centrally located. We got one other place I'd like to talk about if you got time, and we'll move over there.
Sure, my time is yours.
Roy, it's been a couple of months or so since we treated your trees. Could you tell a difference after they got treated?
Well, yeah, I don't know if it's coming out very well on the camera, but you compare those in the front that you treated to these here in the back, which remain to be treated. The difference is just outstanding.
Yes, sir. It makes a difference because the 9 different products goes in there. Not only are we killing the insects, we're picking the tree up, and I think all of us get life sometime or other. We need a little pick-me-up, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely, sure do. Even trees.
That's exactly right. And if you don't care, I'd like to visit back with you maybe this coming spring, and we'll just show how all these come out and how you like, because I think you're going to have me do these in the back, and we'll see how your whole property prospers from this treatment.
Well, that sounds good. I'll welcome you back.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you taking time and showing us your home and your property and talking about your trees.
More than welcome. Thank you.
We're out here north of Jonesboro, off of 141 at Adrian Threadgill's house, and I told him about he needed this rod in his tree and treating his pecan tree, and he's had me do that, and we're out here now, and Adrian's here with us. And what do you think about what I did? You kind of watched what I did, Adrian.
Well, I don't think it was something I could do. Thought I might tackle it myself, but I would have had holes all in the tree, that's for sure. You've got the equipment to do it, which I don't, and I was very impressed. Hopefully that'll do the trick.
Right. Well, that rod is rated for 50,000 pound, and so where it's at, it will grow over those nut ends. And while I was here, Adrian had me treat it too, and it's got a borer problem in it. We're going to straighten that out. And as next spring, as it comes out, we'll liable to visit back with you, and we'll just see how these pecans turn out, because you hadn't had too good of pecans up to now, have you?
No, I haven't. Sure haven't. It's just now starting to produce. Something I was going to ask you, as this tree gets bigger over the years, will I have to come back and put another rod up here someplace, or will that always do it there, just that one rod?
Just that one rod. I'm glad you brought that up. This will grow over that, but the old way for years was putting cables up in the top, and there's thousands of them all around the country now that the cables are broke in these trees, and they're serving no purpose. By putting this rod is permanent. It grows over it, it stays in the tree till the tree dies or gets cut down, and it's there. So there's no pulling loose or anything. Once it's installed properly, that's it. No maintenance thereafter. Whereas with cables, and don't get me wrong, years ago we used to put in cables till we found out this was a whole lot more effective, and it does. We haven't had a tree split after we've had our bracing rods in it at all over the years. So you won't have to put another one. One will do it because I put it in the place that it needed to be.
And I don't have to worry about bores coming in around the rod anywhere, the entrance there?
No, two reasons. One reason, you had me treat the tree anyway, but even if you didn't have me treat the tree, it's sealed enough tight where you've seen me tighten that. There's no way it's getting in there. It would have to try to burrow in from this live tissue over here, and that's not going to happen.
Okay, very good.
All right, and maybe I'll visit back in the spring with you, and we'll just see how much this tree has grown over. Oh, one other thing I'd like to tell our viewers, Adrian was very reluctant at first because he didn't want to treat the tree until spring. Some old nursery people here still believe that you don't get the results unless you wait till spring. With our modern chemicals, the high-grade systemics, it goes right into that root ball, and it works all winter building feeder roots. So when spring comes, the product is already in the sap stream of the tree, and a lot of people refer to it as the sap being down. Well, it is down. What it is, it's slowed down. It don't mean it stopped. If it stopped, the trees would just break over. So the product is still getting in the tree, not at the fast rate it would in the spring. So he's still getting a lot of bang for his bucks, plus that root ball is being built in the wintertime. So in the springtime, you're coming out with a great tree. And I think you understand that now, don't you, Adrian?
Yes, I do. Sure do.
Well, I appreciate the work and you being on camera with me, and we'll look forward to seeing you next spring.
All right, real good.
Recycling is an excellent idea, just like these tires here that was added to this park to give kids a place to play. When you burn your wood in your fireplaces or your stoves, recycle those ashes from that. They still got the minerals in it that was in the wood before you burn it. Put them out there in the spring and help your garden. Just don't overdo it. Remember, they're very, very rich in minerals and nutrients. So just a small amount will go a long way. Kind of mix it in with your gardening and see if you don't come out ahead. Just don't use a whole lot of it on your tomatoes. It just takes very little. But recycle, and it kind of helps the country, and it helps you. You know, some trees have insect problems. Some just have construction damage. Well, we can handle them both generally at the same time. I'm using a soil injection here, building a mold of chemicals all around the root ball. It gets translocated into the crown of the tree. It has a very long residual. Stays working for a year or better, killing insects as well as growing new feeder roots and increasing the canopy of the tree. 9 different chemicals is going in this at once. So there's so much we can do that we used to couldn't do, and in most cases it's cheaper than it used to be. And just name me just any one thing that's come down in price. Well, taking care of your trees have come down in price. Give us a call. You'll be surprised. We're the Tree Doctor, Dickey Tree Service, in your yellow pages under trees.
Well, that's all the time we have for Tree Doctors today. Remember, if you need to get a hold of Ed, it's pretty simple. You can call the number below, or you can go to dickeytree.com. You can catch Tree Doctors on KAIT every Saturday and Sunday morning at 6 o'clock. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time for Tree Doctors.